This is Emmy Award-winning Full Disclosure with Leslie Dutton, bringing you the news behind the news.
The IRS would be on the lookout. I think that was the phrase they were. You'd be on the lookout for groups that use Tea Party in their name, groups that use Patriot in their name, groups that are critical of how the government's being run.
Wow.
Quintessential First Amendment things that the IRS is supposed to be on the lookout for.
That's right. An agency of our government actively working to disrupt and dismantle any group that was critical of the current administration. Judicial Watch brought national attention to the IRS tax exemption scandal by filing a series of Freedom of Information requests, FOIAs. Paul Orphanides is a director of litigation for Judicial Watch, and he discovered that these illegal acts were directed by the leadership of the Obama administration.
And this appears to have been being run directly out of Lois Lerner's, at least out of Washington, D.C. There was some initial discussion early on in the administration that these were rogue agents in Cincinnati. They weren't being instructed from anyone at headquarters. We got documents that directly disproved that as well.
As a result of their lawsuit against the IRS, lawmakers sent a letter to Attorney General Eric Holder demanding an independent special counsel be appointed to investigate the IRS. Nothing has happened. In August, House Republicans called on the Department of Justice to appoint a special counsel for its probe into the IRS, claiming new evidence turned up by Judicial Watch shows that the investigation is compromised due to multiple instances of conflicts of interest. We asked Paul to tell us about this new evidence.
Some of our IRS revelations have gotten more coverage than others. I mean, nothing has been as big as the revelation that Lois Lerner, the head of the exempt organizations section in the IRS, that her emails from a certain period of time, really the operative key period of time, have gone missing, is the assertion.
Let's explain who Lois Lerner is. She was the director of the Exempt Organizations Unit of the Internal Revenue Service.
Exempt organizations is the organizations that considers applications for nonprofit organizations, 501c3, 501c4, any type of nonprofit organizations. About May of 2013, last year, Lois Lerner fed a question to a reporter at an event to ask her about how tax-exempt organizations, in particular Tea Party and other conservative groups, were being treated by exempt organizations when they applied for tax-exempt status.
I'd just like to a little clarification of that. Did you mean to say that this was a deliberate question that she planted from the audience?
That's my understanding.
He explained why she was trying to control the news media.
Every agency has an inspector general. There's an inspector general for the IRS. It's called the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration. The acronym is TIGTA. So you hear a lot about TIGTA. If you wonder what that is, that's the Inspector General for the IRS. My understanding is TIGTA was about to issue a report. We were talking a bit before about how government likes information to come out. Another tactic is you get out in front of the information. It was going to be a negative report. It was going to say that exempt organizations under Ms. Lerner was singling out conservative groups, Tea Party groups, for special attention.
And this special attention included punitive audits by the IRS and criminal prosecution by the FBI, as he will explain later.
Ms. Lerner was aware of that. She thought she could try to deflect that report if information came out before the report came out. So my understanding is she planted a question. She was giving a speech. She planted a question with a reporter in the audience. Ask me this and I'll apologize in advance of the report coming out. It's how government manages information, the flow of information. If it comes out earlier, if you've apologized, then the answer is, oh, that's old news. We've already dealt with that. The Clintons were masters of that.
But in a rare act of journalism, the mainstream media picked up on it. But more importantly, it prompted Judicial Watch to look at the allegations.
It wasn't old news, and it didn't deflect attention away from anything. It spurred all kinds of interests, including FOIA requests from Judicial Watch. This was May of 2013. We immediately started FOIAing. We served any number of FOIA requests. One request in particular was for communications between Ms. Lerner and several other high-level executive or exempt organizations officials about how they were going to how they were treating Tea Party groups, conservative groups, when they were applying for tax-exempt status. The IRS, of course, didn't respond. We sued them in October of 2013. February of 2013 comes around. When you bring a FOIA lawsuit, what you really are doing is you're getting a court supervision of the document production and any withholdings that the government is making. The court ordered IRS to search for and produce responsive documents on a rolling basis, meaning, you don't need to give everything now. Give us monthly periodic productions over time as you find and process documents. So that was February 2014. They're supposed to start producing documents.
But in defiance of the court, the IRS didn't do what they were ordered to do.
We get a couple of productions. Come June of 2014, just a couple of months ago, the IRS says many of Lois Lerner's emails from the period in time that we'd asked for are missing. Her hard drive crashed and these documents can't be found. Turns out they knew of that in February. They didn't tell the court. They didn't tell us. They had submitted status reports to the court about the status of their efforts to find and produce documents to us. They never mentioned them in any of these. We found out about it through the media. We, of course, notified the court. The court was not pleased. We had a hearing on July 10th, and at that hearing, the court ordered the IRS to a couple of things: produce sworn declarations under oath describing the efforts that the IRS had made to locate and retrieve Ms. Lerner's emails from any number of sources, not just from the crashed hard drive, but from any other sources, and also to identify what happened with the hard drive and where the hard drive was, because all these emails were supposed to have been on her hard drive that crashed.
In this day of technology, people have found new ways of claiming the old excuse, "the dog ate my homework." Because of the redundancy of the modern electronics, these new excuses don't hold water. All you need is someone technically sophisticated enough to ferret out the facts from the fiction.
The court also authorized a magistrate named John Faciola, who specializes in electronic discovery issues, to oversee issues about what the IRS said in their declaration, as well as discovery, authorizing us to request discovery of what the IRS was doing with these email and what other efforts it made to recover these email. Email, they can be in any number of places. Usually there's an email server. If you download them onto your hard drive, they're on your hard drive on your computer. If your computer is backed up, they're going to be on backup tapes. If you have a tablet or a BlackBerry or an Android phone and you sync your phone to your computer, they're going to be on your phone, they're going to be on your tablet, so they could be any number of places. We got these affidavits the other day, these declarations, and they were bare bones minimum. It described, two sort of tech specialists' efforts to recover the hard drive, and it affirmed that the hard drive was shredded when they couldn't recover any information from it. The court, again, is not satisfied and has ordered them to go back and produce more information, some very specific, some more general, about where the hard drive is, what other efforts they had made to try to locate these documents. Because, like I said, the issue is not just Lois Lerner's hard drive. It's Are they on backup tapes? Are they on, Blackberries, Androids, tablets? Did other people, these emails were obviously sent to other people. Can you get them from the recipients?
And so are these other agencies, the FBI, the Federal Elections Commission, who received the emails from Ms. Lerner, are they in collusion with this conspiracy?
There's all kinds of questions that need to be answered, and we're really just in the thick of it now, just because we've just gotten these affidavits. They're insufficient. The court's ordered more. We're going to be working with Judge Facciola, Magistrate Facciola, to try to get to the bottom of what happened to these emails.
It reminds me a little bit of Rosemary Woods, except in these days of high technology, it's much more complicated. It was a lot easier to do away with 18.5 minutes.
Right, back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Now with all these backups and other devices, it's fascinating, all the different places these things possibly could reside. And the IRS is just being very closed mouth in terms of saying what they're doing to try to find them.
Well, you would think that the IRS has a policy for archiving.
Absolutely. If they did what they said they did, they violated their own internal regulations and the Federal Records Act.
I wonder why nobody has filed any criminal charges against them. Judicial Watch is working to identify those responsible. As the flow of information comes, providing you with additional pieces of the puzzle, you're going to find out where the order was given.
Right.
And if there's a person that's responsible for destroying the records, that is punishable.
Oh, certainly, certainly. All kinds of folks looking for these records at this point also. And, we have obtained some of her email from other sources, other within the agency. Some of those are just fascinating. It shows really coordination on the part of the IRS with the FBI and with the Federal Election Commission to tamp down on Tea Party groups. They were considering having the FBI and the Department of Justice bring criminal charges against Tea Party groups that they believed made false representations about what political activity they were going to be engaging in. Some of these emails say, we want to make an example of a Tea Party group. Make an example, I'm not sure they necessarily use of a Tea Party group, but they were looking at prosecuting Tea Party groups for misstating the level of political involvement they plan to engage in. And they were also going to the FEC, because the FEC has authority over electioneering activities. So they were trying to get the FEC involved. So it was really a concerted effort to bring all the different levers of government against these conservative Tea Party groups. And a lot of this was going on in the context of before the 2010 midterm elections, and and before the 2014 elections. So you can draw your own conclusions about why the IRS would want to be shutting down or having an example be made of sending a message to Tea Party groups.
We certainly can draw our own conclusions, but we would like to hear what you think. Please take our survey and be sure to leave your comments below. Why would the IRS want to shut down or make an example of the various Tea Party groups just prior to the last two national elections? Question number 1. Was it to eliminate any possible competition to the election and re-election of President Obama? Yes or no? Question number 2. Was it to stop political organizations from using the nonprofit status to illegally raise funds for their political agenda? Yes or no? Be sure to leave your comments below. I'm Leslie Dutton. Thank you.